Hi, I'm James the FPSGeneral, and I'm here with lead writer from Borderlands 2 and superstar internet heartthrob Anthony Birch. How you doing, Anthony?
Hi, I'm good.
Okay. Can I ask you some questions about the game?
No.
Okay. So first off, there are playable characters from the first game: Mordecai, Brick, Roland.
Right.
So what was it like trying to figure out, what they're doing, what they're up to, and how they've progressed?
It was really tricky because, like you said, they were kind of supposed to be more ciphers for the player. They're not going to comment on what's going on in the plot, but they do say things during combat to make you laugh. So, Lilith had a more personality that was much more caustic and kind of arrogant. Brick would just say blood and just make a bunch of snarling noises. So there were little touchstones that we could use to sort of build off more elaborate characters, but it was definitely a challenge to find what the player was expecting in terms of, I played Mordecai, so you should act like this. You should be a little bit cool, but try to give him something else new. So Mordecai likes to drink, and hopefully people won't be pissed about that.
Right.
But that was.
Well, the man is a bird, so there's something a little bit.
There's something a little bit weird about it. Right. But yeah, I hope people really enjoy meeting the original 4 Vault Hunters again. And what's really cool about having them as NPCs now is they get to talk to each other, which they never got to do in the first game.
Right.
You never really got to know what their relationship was. Whereas in this game, you get to see how Roland sort of bounces off of Brick or Lilith or Mordecai.
Right. So when developing a character like Handsome Jack, who is has to be number one evil but also very charismatic, it's an interesting combo because it actually works very well from what I've seen.
Thank you.
But it's also not something that's very common. So what I guess went into developing that character? Where did you maybe draw some of the inspiration from?
A lot of the inspiration just for the idea that Handsome Jack should exist at all came from some feedback from the first game, which was there doesn't seem to be a villain here. There was Commandant Steele, but she had 20 lines. It wasn't a lot.
She was dead.
And then you never fought her. And we thought, okay, well, if the first game was the first game had a very gameplay centric narrative motivation, which was find the vault. Oh, okay, there's gonna be loot in the vault. That's cool. I like loot, so of course there wasn't any. You would assume, but the basic premise was strong because it sort of tied into the gameplay loop. So we thought, okay, well, what's another thing that you do in Borderlands? You kill bosses. So what if we said, okay, the plot of this game is kill Jack, and he's a boss and he's a bad guy. So we thought, okay, that'd be a really good way to sort of tie all the narrative threads with the gameplay, make you say, okay, you're getting to this guy and you're going to kill him one day. What we took a lot of inspiration from was System Shock 2, Bioshock, Portal, games with really strong antagonists, because what's great about those games is that the thing that reminds you that the plot is important is also a character. It's not just somebody having to say, hey, remember, the vault's really important, which can feel expository. We have a character being a jerk to you and being funny, hopefully, and being someone who's constantly taunting you, while implicitly reminding you, hey, I'm actually the ultimate point of the game. You should want to kill me. And a lot of the effort was to make sure that he was a guy who you wanted to hear what he had to say next, because it might be funny or surprising.
And the weird thing about it is you kind of want to like him at first, because he's a handsome man, he's a funny man, and but he's almost a bit like Jaime Lannister. Completely crazy, but he is evil as anything. He is not just a little bit, oh, I'm a bad guy. He loves killing people, and he will kill anyone, women, children, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I hadn't thought about the Jaime Lannister parallel, but that's actually pretty apt. Yeah, he very much enjoys.
A little bit crazy as well.
He enjoys being a jerk,
And his face is that his real face, or is it kind of stapled on?
It's.
Do we not want to say spoilers?
Well, if you look at it, you can see that there are these metal staples, and and in my I don't know if it's actually explained anywhere in the plot, but in my thinking, he probably makes people call him Handsome Jack.
Right. It seems like he's more Rich Jack, who is now handsome, than maybe Handsome Jack originally. Can you talk a little bit about, without spoilers and giving too much away, maybe one boss fight, mechanic-wise, that really sticks out in your mind that's a ton of fun to do?
There is a boss fight about 2/3 of the way through the game that is basically just everything I like about Borderlands sort of combined with a bunch of things that you wouldn't expect. It's big ass boss and a bunch of little dudes that you can get your second wind off of, and who hassle you, the mobs. But then combined with that are big stationary turrets that come out of nowhere that you got to get rid of, and these laser grids that go along the ground, and oh crap, you got to jump onto things. It's actually one of my favorite boss fights in the game, because it manages to sort of make you think about a bunch of different mechanics at the same time without ever really becoming overwhelming. Because the awful thing would be oh my god, everything's just killing me all at once and I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Would you suggest to players that if you have 4 friends and you're going to play the game, that you talk to each other about what characters everybody's going to play? Like DPS, obviously Maya has a great healing tree, she has a res ability, and then a tank. Is that something that's suggested or required to clear some of the content?
In the first playthrough of the game, in the main mode, you can sort of do what you want. It's a challenging experience, but if there's 4 of you, pick whatever seems fun and have fun, and all you'll be supported. playthrough 2, which we are calling True Vault Hunter mode.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more catchy than playthrough 2.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a much more challenging mode, and that's the one where you might want to say, okay, we might actually want a tank and a DPS and a healer, and we just might all want to spec for survivability, so that our Maya doesn't have to be using her phase lock all the time to res us. Maybe she wants to use it for crowd control. Especially when you're going against the raid boss Terramorphous. That is one where you need to spec very, very intelligently, not just with your classes, but with the gear you have and the class mods, and who's going to be slagging the boss while I do the damage and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. And as far as DLC goes, I have 2 questions. Number 1, are you going to be working on DLC and narrative in the DLC?
Yeah.
Excellent. And the second question is, how much gameplay do you think we can expect, and the frequency of the DLC? It seems like it's going to be a really big deal this time around. I know the Necromancer's coming out. You have 4 DLC plans before June. All this stuff. Is a lot of it going to hinge upon the success of the DLC or maybe the success of the game?
Yeah, it sort of goes with what the philosophy for the DLC in the first game was like, okay, what did players want more of? Well, they wanted a big loot dump at the end, so we give them that in general now, because they wanted more humor, so zombies and zombie and that kind of stuff. So a lot of it's going to be responding to that and just sort of seeing, what would be fun to do? What haven't we done in Borderlands before?
Right. Okay, excellent. And I think that about does it. I'm out of questions, and I'm sure everybody just wants to play the game. So thank you very much, Anthony Birch, for joining me on FPS General, and good luck, Vault Hunters.